The chamber was vast beyond imagination, a dome of crystal that stretched toward the stars. Inside, representatives from 800 different species gathered in their designated sections. Some floated in gas-filled containers. Others rested in pools of liquid. Many stood on solid ground like humans did. This was the Galactic Council, the heart of civilization among the stars. Daeho Kim walked slowly toward the central platform. His gray hair was neatly combed, and his formal suit bore the symbol of Earth. He had served as humanity's ambassador for 40 years. He knew every corridor of this building. He knew the names of hundreds of delegates. He had spent his entire adult life building friendships and alliances for his species. Today, all of that would mean nothing. Behind him walked Admiral Heejin Park. Her military uniform was crisp and decorated with medals from 3 different wars. She had fought beside Council species against pirates and invaders. She had bled for them. Her face showed no emotion as she took her place beside Daeho. The emergency session had been called 3 weeks ago. The Krell Dominion, a powerful empire that controlled 200 star systems, had declared war on humanity. They wanted human colonies. They wanted human resources. They wanted humans to kneel and accept Krell rule. Daeho had asked the Council for help. Humanity had always helped when others were attacked. Human ships had defended Chiric's worlds from raiders. Human doctors had saved millions during the Delphin Plague. Human engineers had rebuilt stations destroyed in the Vokari Civil War. Surely the Council would stand with Earth now. The vote was about to begin. Chancellor Borishin watched from Earth through a quantum communication link. She sat in her office in New Seoul, surrounded by advisors who looked worried. She knew what was coming. The intelligence reports had been clear. Most Council species would vote against humanity. The voting display appeared in the center of the chamber. Each species could vote yes to defend humanity, or no to stay out of the conflict. The results appeared one by one: no, 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 yes, no, no, no. The Chirics voted yes. They remembered what humanity had done for them. The Delphins voted yes. The peaceful Lumens voted yes. But they were only 3 voices among hundreds. No, 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 no. Daeho watched the numbers climb. His hands remained steady, but inside he felt something breaking. These were species he had dined with. Species whose children he had met. Species who had promised friendship forever. The final count appeared. 847 voted no. 3 voted yes. Humanity was alone. The Krell ambassador stood. He was tall and covered in thick scales. His eyes were cold. The Council has spoken. Humanity's territory is no longer protected. Earth has 6 months to surrender peacefully to Krell rule. If they refuse, we will take what we want by force. Overseer Vrax, the Krell military commander, smiled from his seat. He had planned this perfectly. Humanity was strong, but they could not fight the entire Krell armada alone. Soon humans would be servants. Their colonies would be farms for Krell expansion. The Council chamber fell silent. Everyone turned to look at Daeho. The old ambassador walked slowly to the speaker's platform. His steps echoed in the quiet. When he reached the center, he stood for a moment looking at all the species who had abandoned his people. "I have served this council for 40 years, Daeho said. His voice was calm and clear. "I believed in what we built here. I believed that civilization meant standing together. I believed that friendship meant something." He paused. Many delegates looked away, unable to meet his eyes. "Today I learned that I was wrong. Today I learned that when humanity needed you, you chose fear. You chose politics. You chose to look away while our worlds burn." Daeho reached up and unpinned the council symbol from his chest. It was a small badge that represented membership in the galactic community. He had worn it with pride for 4 decades. He placed it carefully on the central podium. "Humanity does not beg. We will not plead for scraps of mercy. We will not bargain for what should be given freely to friends." His voice grew harder. "We will remember this day. We will remember who stood with us and who turned away. And we will handle our problems ourselves." Admiral Heejin stepped forward. She said nothing. She simply removed her own council badge and placed it next to Daeho's. Then she turned and walked toward the exit. Daeho followed her. The 2 humans left the council chamber in absolute silence. No one spoke. No one moved. They simply watched as Earth's representatives walked away. Within hours, the order went out across human space. All diplomatic staff were recalled. Every human trade station was evacuated. Cultural exchange programs were canceled. Military advisors returned home. Humanity was pulling back completely. On Chancellor Bora's orders, human space closed its borders. No ships in, no ships out. The communication relays that humanity had maintained went dark. The trade routes that human merchants had pioneered were abandoned. The galaxy would get exactly what it voted for. Humanity would stand alone. The Krell prepared their invasion fleet. Overseer Vrax assembled 3 battle groups. 36 warships and 20,000 soldiers would be enough to take the first human colonies. Once humanity saw they could not win, they would surrender. The fleets departed for human space, confident in their victory. The Council watched and did nothing. After all, they had voted. This was none of their business anymore. But in the orbital shipyards above Earth, something was changing. Engineers worked day and night on projects that had been theoretical. Scientists pushed past boundaries they had respected before. Military planners drew up strategies that had been considered too aggressive, too risky, too extreme. Humanity had always been peaceful by choice, not by nature. They had held back because they believed in cooperation. They had limited their weapons because they believed in trust. They had remained restrained because they believed in the Council. Those beliefs died in the Council chamber. What remained was something older, something harder. Humanity had been abandoned. Humanity had been betrayed. Humanity would not forget. Admiral Heejin stood on the observation deck of Earth's largest military station. She looked out at the construction yards where new ships were taking shape. Ships unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Ships designed not for exploration or defense, but for war. "They will regret this," said a voice beside her. Captain Soo-hyun Kang had served under Hyejin for 15 years. She was young but brilliant, one of the new generation of officers who would lead humanity's transformation. Hyejin nodded slowly. "Yes, but we will not become monsters. We will become strong enough that no one will ever abandon us again." The 2 women watched in silence as the new fleet took shape. Humanity was alone now, but humanity would not stay weak. The galaxy had made its choice. Soon, humanity would show them the consequences. 2 years had passed since humanity closed its borders. 2 years of complete silence from human space. The galaxy had moved on, or tried to, but strange things were happening, and people were starting to notice. Counselor Thys sat in her private office reviewing reports. She was Vryn, a species known for careful observation and long memories. Something was wrong, and she could feel it in her bones. The Krell invasion fleet had entered human space 23 months ago. 36 warships, 20,000 soldiers, enough firepower to conquer a dozen colony worlds. They were supposed to secure the outer human settlements and force Earth to negotiate, but the fleet never returned. No distress signals, no battle reports, no survivors. The ships simply vanished as if they had never existed. At first, the Krell sent another fleet to investigate. 12 ships this time, heavily armed and cautious. They were ordered to find out what happened to the first group. Those 12 ships vanished too. Then the Krell sent a third fleet, and a fourth. Each time, the ships crossed into human territory and disappeared. By now, over 70 Krell warships were missing. The Krell Dominion had lost nearly 5% of its entire navy, and no one knew how or why. The Council chamber had become tense. Species that had voted against humanity were starting to feel nervous. What was happening in human space? Had the humans developed some new weapon? Had they allied with an unknown power? This reviewed another report. This one came from Kirik's intelligence. The Chiriks had remained friends with humanity even after the vote. They were one of the 3 species who had stood with Earth. According to the report, Krell escape pods had been found drifting near Chirik space. Inside were survivors, traumatized and barely coherent. They spoke of ships that appeared from nowhere, weapons that cut through shields like they were paper, human soldiers who moved like ghosts and fought with terrifying precision. One soldier kept repeating the same phrase over and over. "They were waiting for us." They knew we were coming. They knew everything. Thys closed the report and looked out her window at the Council station. What had humanity become in 2 years of isolation? Meanwhile, in a dark office on a hidden station, Commander Ji-won Lee reviewed surveillance data. She was the head of human intelligence operations outside Earth space. While the galaxy thought humanity had withdrawn completely, Ji-won and her teams had been busy. Human agents were everywhere. They had infiltrated trade stations, planted listening devices in diplomatic offices, and observed council military movements. The galaxy thought humanity was blind and alone. In reality, humans were watching everything. Jiwan pulled up another file. The economic reports were interesting. Without human trade, the galactic economy was struggling. Human goods were no longer available, and other species had discovered they could not easily replace them. Human computer systems were more efficient than anyone else's. Human medical technology saved lives that other species could not save. Human agricultural products fed billions. All of that was gone now, and the galaxy was feeling the loss. Species that had relied on human trade routes were suffering. Merchants who had built their businesses on human products were going bankrupt. Even the council itself was having problems. The communication network had used human technology. Without human engineers to maintain it, things were breaking down. Jiwan smiled. Humanity had been more important to galactic civilization than anyone realized. Now they would learn that lesson the hard way. Dr. Minsu Choi stood in the main laboratory of the Prometheus Initiative. Around him, hundreds of scientists worked on projects that would have been impossible 3 years ago. The Prometheus Initiative was humanity's secret weapon program, and it had produced miracles. When the Council abandoned humanity, something changed in human thinking. Before, humans had limited their research out of respect for galactic norms. They had avoided certain weapons because they seemed too dangerous. They had held back their full technological potential because they wanted to be good neighbors. Those restrictions were gone now. Minsu walked past a team working on shield technology. They had increased defensive power by 300%. Another team was testing new engines that could move ships faster than anything the Council had. A third team had developed weapons that could penetrate any known armor. But the most important project was the fleet itself. In 2 years, humanity had built more warships than any single species possessed. The construction yards around Earth, Mars, and the outer colonies worked constantly. Every human system contributed resources. Every human factory produced weapons and armor. The galaxy had no idea what was being built in the silence of human space. Captain Soo-hyun Kang commanded the stealth ship Silent Blade. Her vessel was one of 50 like it, designed for reconnaissance in enemy territory. The Silent Blade could slip past any sensor system. It could observe without being detected. It could strike without warning. Right now, Soo-hyun was watching a Krell military base from 3 light minutes away. Her ship was invisible to every sensor the Krell possessed. She recorded their fleet movements, their patrol patterns, their communication protocols. All of this data would be useful soon. Soo-hyun had been in the military for 12 years. She had seen combat before, but the last 2 years had changed everything. The training was harder now. The weapons were deadlier. The tactics were more aggressive. Humanity was preparing for war on a scale they had never fought before. She thought about the Krell soldiers on that base. They had no idea they were being watched. They had no idea what was coming. The Council tried to reach out to humanity. They sent a diplomatic vessel to the Sol system under a flag of truce. Perhaps they could negotiate. Perhaps they could apologize. Perhaps they could repair the relationship. The diplomatic ship crossed into human space. Immediately, it was intercepted by vessels that appeared on no registry. The ships were black as space itself, angular and predatory. They moved with impossible precision. A single message came through. Earth space is closed. Do not return. The diplomatic ship tried to explain. They came in peace. They wanted to talk. But the human vessels did not respond to any further communication. They simply escorted the diplomatic ship back to the border and watched until it left. The diplomats reported what they saw. They had counted 15 human warships, all equipped with technology that seemed generations ahead of Council standards. The ships had targeting systems that tracked the diplomatic vessel through its shields. They had weapons that powered up instantly. They had sensors that could probably see through any stealth system. The report caused panic in the Council. Some species demanded action. Others suggested leaving humanity alone. A few very quietly started discussing how to make peace with Earth. On Earth, Chancellor Bora Shin met with her military commanders. Admiral Heejin presented the latest fleet readiness reports. Admiral Taewon Nam discussed strategy for defending human space. General Yuna Song explained ground force preparations. The message was clear. Humanity was ready. The 2 years of silence had been spent building, training, and preparing. The galaxy thought humanity was hiding, They were wrong. Humanity was getting ready to emerge stronger than anyone imagined. Bora looked at the holographic display showing their fleet positions. Thousands of ships all crewed and ready. Millions of soldiers all trained and equipped. An intelligence network that covered half the galaxy. Technology that surpassed anything the Council possessed. How much longer? Bora asked. Yejin checked her tablet. The final construction phase completes in 4 months. After that, we will be at full strength. Bora nodded. Good, let them wonder. Let them worry. When we are ready, the galaxy will learn that abandoning humanity was the greatest mistake they ever made. The meeting ended. The commanders returned to their duties. And in the silence of human space, the greatest military force in galactic history continued to take shape. The week after humanity's revelation changed everything. The Galactic Council, which had ruled for thousands of years, began to fall apart. Species that had stood together for centuries were now divided. Some saw humanity's offer as salvation. Others saw it as a threat to the old ways. Chancellor Bora Shin arrived at Sanctum Prime on the second day. She came on her own flagship, surrounded by an escort of 20 human warships. The display of military power was intentional. Humanity wanted everyone to understand that Earth was no longer weak. Bora met with the first group of species who wanted to join the Terran Defense Coalition. The Chirics came first, bringing gifts and apologies. They had voted for humanity 3 years ago, and they had remained loyal even when it cost them. Humanity would remember that. The Delphins came next. Their representative, a dignified elder named Vess, spoke with regret about the Council's decision. We knew it was wrong, Vess said through the translation device. We tried to convince others to support Earth. We failed you. Bora shook her head. You did not fail us. You stood with us when no one else would. That is enough. The Delphins will always have a place in the coalition. The Lumens arrived with their characteristic quiet grace. They were a peaceful species, devoted to learning and art. They had voted for humanity because it was the right thing to do, not because they expected anything in return. Bora honored them with formal recognition as founding members of the coalition, but it was not just humanity's old friends who came. The merchant guilds of the Tarsus Combine sent representatives. They had suffered greatly without human trade routes. Their economy was collapsing. They needed Earth's technology and protection. The warrior clans of the Vokari came as well. They respected strength, and humanity had proven their strength. The Vokari leader, a scarred veteran named Korvax, knelt before Bora in the traditional gesture of alliance. We failed to vote for you before, Korvax said bluntly. We were cowards. We will not make that mistake again. By the end of the week, 17 species had formally requested membership in the Terran Defense Coalition. Each one signed agreements that promised mutual defense, free trade, and shared technology. In return, they agreed to follow certain principles. No slavery, no genocide, no wars of conquest. Ambassador Seon-woo Park took charge of organizing the new coalition government. He was younger than Daeho had been, more energetic. He believed in what they were building. He worked 18 hours a day setting up communication networks, establishing trade protocols, and drafting the coalition charter. Captain Yoonji Baek was assigned to escort coalition members back to their home systems. Her ship, the UES Horizon, was a modern cruiser equipped with the latest technology. She made sure that each new ally understood what they were joining. The coalition was not just a military alliance. It was a new way of organizing galactic civilization, but not everyone wanted to join humanity's new order. Supreme Commander Vrax returned to the Krell homeworld in rage. He had been humiliated in the council chamber. Humanity had threatened him, displayed their power, and made him look weak in front of the entire galaxy. The Krell leadership met in their war chambers deep beneath the capital city. Vrax laid out his plan. They would assemble the largest military force in Krell history. Every warship, every soldier, every weapon they possessed. They would crush humanity once and for all. The humans think they are strong, Vrax told his fellow commanders. They think their technology makes them invincible. We will prove them wrong. We will drown them in numbers. We will show the galaxy that the old ways still have power. The Krell began mobilizing their client states. Species that had been conquered by the Krell were forced to contribute ships and soldiers. The armada grew day by day. 5,000 warships, then 6,000, then 7,000. The galaxy watched in fear as the Krell prepared for war. Many species declared neutrality, too frightened to take sides. The old Galactic Council tried to mediate, but no one listened anymore. The Council was irrelevant now. The only powers that mattered were the Terran Defense Coalition and the Krell Dominion. On Earth, Admiral Hyagin coordinated humanity's response. She met with her senior officers in the command center beneath Geneva. The room was filled with holographic displays showing the Krell fleet positions, coalition assets, and defensive strategies. The Krell have assembled 7,000 ships, Admiral Taewon reported. He looked excited rather than worried. Our intelligence says they plan to attack through the gateway system. They want to break through our outer defenses and strike directly at the core colonies. General Yuna studied the tactical display. Gateway is a choke point. If we fortify it properly, they will have to come through in waves. We can destroy them piece by piece. Director Jiwon added her analysis. The Krell client states are not loyal. Many of them have already contacted us secretly. They will defect if the Krell start losing. We just need to break their momentum. Hyejin listened to her officers and felt proud. 3 years ago, these same people had stood in the council chamber and watched humanity be abandoned. Now they commanded the most powerful military force in the galaxy. They had transformed themselves through determination and sacrifice. We will not meet them head-on, Hyejin decided. The Krell expect a traditional battle. We will give them something different. We will use our advantages, superior technology, better information, and more flexible tactics. We will fragment their fleet and destroy them in smaller engagements. She turned to Taewon. Take the first fleet to Gateway. Prepare the defenses. But remember, we are not trying to kill every Krell soldier. We are trying to end this war as quickly as possible with minimum casualties on both sides. Taewon saluted. Understood, Admiral. We will give them a chance to surrender. The Terran Defense Coalition prepared for war. New members contributed what they could. The Chirics provided intelligence about Krell supply lines. The Vokari sent their best warriors to train alongside human soldiers. The Delphins offered their medical facilities to treat wounded from both sides. On Olympus Station, orbiting Mars, the Coalition established its military headquarters. The station was massive, capable of housing 1 million people and serving as a command center for the entire fleet. From here, human commanders could coordinate operations across hundreds of light years. Dr. Min-Soo Choi worked in the research facilities on Olympus Station, making final adjustments to the Aegis network. This was humanity's ultimate intelligence advantage. The network consisted of thousands of small satellites spread throughout the galaxy. Each one was invisible to normal sensors. Together, they created a real-time map of every major ship movement in known space. With the Aegis network, Coalition forces would always know where the enemy was. They could position their forces perfectly. They could avoid ambushes. They could strike at weak points. It was the kind of advantage that won wars. Colonel Hanul Cha trained her special forces teams in the combat simulators. Her soldiers were the best humanity had produced. They could operate in any environment. They could infiltrate enemy positions. They could capture or eliminate high-value targets. If the war came down to ground combat, her teams would make the difference. Throughout human space, billions of people prepared for what was coming. Children were evacuated from border colonies to safer systems. Factories increased production of weapons and ammunition. Civilian ships were converted to support vessels. Every human system contributed to the war effort. But there was no panic. 3 years of preparation had created a calm confidence. Humanity knew what they had built. They knew their technology was superior. They knew their training was better. They knew they could win. On the bridge of the Retribution, Admiral Hyejin looked at the reports coming in from Gateway. Taewon had positioned the First Fleet perfectly. Hidden weapons platforms were in place. Fighter squadrons were ready. The trap was set. Captain Soo-hyun Kang's stealth ships were already in Krell space, watching the enemy armada gather. Soo-hyun sent detailed reports about Krell formations, command structure, and communication protocols. By the time the battle began, humans would know everything about their enemy. Ambassador Seon-woo sent one final message to the Krell leadership. It was simple and direct. The Terran Defense Coalition does not want war. We offer peace with honor. Stand down your fleets. Negotiate a settlement. No one needs to die. The Krell response was equally simple. Humanity will kneel or humanity will burn. Hyejin read the message and felt something cold settle in her chest. She had hoped the Krell would choose wisdom. They had chosen pride instead. So be it. She opened a fleet-wide channel. Every human ship, from the largest battleship to the smallest fighter, received her message simultaneously. This is Fleet Admiral Park. The Krell Dominion has chosen war. They come with thousands of ships. They believe numbers will defeat us. They are wrong. We will show them what humanity has become. We will defend our allies. We will protect the innocent. And we will win. She paused, thinking of all the people watching and listening, thinking of the species who had joined the coalition, thinking of the future they were building. Remember, we fight not for conquest but for peace. We fight not for revenge but for justice. We fight so that no species will ever be abandoned again. Stand ready. Stand strong. Humanity will prevail. 3 years after humanity left the Council, Supreme Commander Vrax stood before the Assembly and demanded action. He was furious. The Krell Dominion had lost over 90 warships trying to invade human space. Every fleet they sent vanished without a trace. This humiliation could not continue. The Council must act, Vrax growled. His scales were dark with anger. We followed your rules. We waited for the Council vote. You declared human space unprotected. Now humans are destroying our fleets and you do nothing. Many Council members looked uncomfortable. They had voted to abandon humanity, yes, but they had not expected this. They thought the Krell would quickly conquer the humans and everything would return to normal. Instead, the Krell were being beaten and no one understood how. Councillor Thys spoke carefully. Perhaps we should attempt diplomatic contact with Earth. We could negotiate a peace between the Krell and humanity. Vrax slammed his fist on the table. I do not negotiate with prey. I will assemble the entire Krell armada, 3,000 warships. We will sweep through human space and burn every colony until they beg for mercy. The Council chamber erupted in debate. Some supported the Krell plan. Others thought it was madness. A few suggested leaving humanity alone entirely. No one could agree. Then something impossible happened. Every sensor in the Council station triggered at once. Alarms blared. Security forces scrambled to their positions. A ship had appeared in orbit above the station without warning. One moment space was empty. The next moment a massive vessel hung there like a dark moon. The ship was enormous. It was a dreadnought, bigger than anything the Council had seen in decades. Its hull was black as night with silver markings. The design was clearly human but evolved. Sharper, more aggressive, more dangerous. Across its side, in letters that glowed with cold light, was its name, UES Retribution. The Council chamber fell silent as everyone stared at the display screens. How had that ship gotten past all their defenses? How had it appeared without any warning? What else could humanity do that the Council did not know about? A communication request came through. The Council leadership accepted it with shaking hands. This is Fleet Admiral Hijin Park of the United Earth Systems. We request an audience with the Galactic Council. Councillor Thys recognized the name. Hijin had been at the vote 3 years ago. She had walked out with Ambassador Deho. Now she was back and she was in command of that terrifying ship. The Council granted the request. What choice did they have? 5 humans entered the Council chamber an hour later. They wore black military uniforms with silver trim. Their boots struck the floor in perfect rhythm. They moved like soldiers, not diplomats. Every species in the room could feel the difference. Admiral Hijin Park led them. She looked older now, her face harder. Behind her came Vice Admiral Taewon Nam, a young officer with cold eyes. General Unisong walked with the confidence of someone who had commanded armies. Chief Engineer Junho Kwon carried a data tablet. Director Jiwon Lee moved silently, her gaze sweeping the chamber like she was memorizing every face. They reached the central platform where Deho had stood 3 years ago, where the Council badges had been left behind. Those badges were gone now, taken to Earth as reminders of betrayal. Hijin did not wait for permission to speak. 3 years ago, this Council abandoned humanity to our enemies. You voted to let the Krell invade our worlds. You chose politics over honor. She looked directly at Vrax. The Krell came as promised. They brought 93 warships. They brought 40,000 soldiers. They thought we would be easy prey. Hijin smiled, and it was not a friendly expression. We destroyed them all. Every ship. Every weapon. We took every soldier prisoner and treated them well. We could have killed them, but we chose mercy. Director Jiwon stepped forward and activated her tablet. A holographic display appeared above the platform, visible to everyone in the chamber. It showed a map of council space with thousands of small red dots. These are human vessels currently positioned throughout the galaxy, G1 explained calmly. We have ships in orbit around every council homeworld. We have listening posts on your secure stations. We have agents in your governments, your militaries, and your intelligence agencies. The chamber erupted in shock and anger. Species shouted accusations. How dare humanity spy on them? How dare humanity violate their territory? G1 waited for the noise to die down. We have been watching you for 3 years. We know everything. Your fleet positions, your defensive plans, your political secrets. We could have destroyed any of you at any time. We chose not to. Admiral Tewin spoke next. His voice was young but hard. In 3 years, humanity built the largest military fleet in known space. 12,000 warships, 50 million soldiers, weapons that make your technology look like stone tools, defenses that can stop anything you can throw at us. He pulled up another display. This one showed images of human ships, sleek cruisers, massive battleships, carrier vessels that could launch thousands of fighters, weapons platforms that bristled with cannons. The Krell fleets did not vanish, Tewin continued. We destroyed them, completely, totally. We studied their tactics, crushed their vessels, and took their soldiers prisoner. We did this while barely trying. We were testing our new systems. General Yuna added her voice. Every human colony is now fortified. Every station is armed. Every citizen has been trained in defense. We will never be vulnerable again. We will never need to beg for protection again. Supreme Commander Vrax rose to his feet, shaking with rage. You dare threaten this council? You dare threaten the Krell Dominion? We will mobilize our full armada and crush you. Hijin looked at him the way someone might look at a small insect. You are welcome to try. Your armada will die just like your invasion fleets died. But we did not come here to threaten you. She turned to address the entire council. We came to inform you of the new reality. The Galactic Council is broken. It is corrupt, it is weak. It abandons its members when they need help most. We will not ask to rejoin this council. We will build something better. Chief Engineer Junho activated the final display. This one showed the specifications of humanity's new technology. Engines that could cross the galaxy in days. Shields that could absorb the firepower of entire fleets. Weapons that could crack planets if needed. This is what humanity has built, Junho said quietly. This is what 3 years of focused effort produces when a species decides to survive. We could have destroyed the Krell Dominion. We could have attacked every species that voted against us. We chose to be better than you. Yijin took control again. Humanity will form a new alliance, the Terran Defense Coalition. We will accept any species who wishes to join us. We will defend them. We will share our technology. We will stand together against tyranny. She paused and looked around the chamber. You once offered us a choice. Submit or be destroyed. Now we offer you the same choice. Join us as partners in peace, or stand alone when the next crisis comes. Because there will be another crisis. There is always another crisis. And when it comes, humanity will protect those who stand with us. Admiral Hagen gestured toward the ceiling, toward orbit. The Retribution is not alone. We brought an escort. On every view screen, 30 massive warships appeared. They had been there all along, hidden by cloaking systems that no council sensor could detect. Now they revealed themselves in a display of overwhelming power. Battleships, carriers, cruisers, all built to human design, all armed with weapons beyond anything the council possessed. All positioned perfectly to strike if needed. The message was clear. Humanity was not asking for permission. Humanity was not seeking approval. Humanity was informing the council that the rules had changed. We will remain at Sanctum Prime for 1 week, Hyejin announced. Any species that wishes to discuss membership in the Terran Defense Coalition may contact us. After 1 week, we will leave. Choose wisely. The 5 humans turned and walked out of the chamber in perfect formation. Behind them, they left a council in chaos. Some species were terrified. Others were furious. Many were calculating how quickly they could switch sides. On the Retribution, Hyejin stood on the bridge and looked at the council station through the view screen. Beside her, Director Jiwan reported that 12 species had already requested meetings. The Chirics, Delphons, and Lumens are first, Jiwan said. Our old friends. They never forgot us, Hyejin nodded. Honor their loyalty. We will stand with them forever. As for the others, we will see who has the wisdom to choose correctly. The galaxy was changing. The old order was dying, and humanity, abandoned and betrayed, had returned not as victims but as the strongest power in known space. The Krell Armada arrived at Gateway System like a storm rolling across space. 7,000 warships moved in formation, their weapons powered and shields active. Supreme Commander Vrax commanded from his flagship, confident in his overwhelming numbers. Humanity had shown advanced technology, yes, but no technology could defeat this many ships. The human defensive line was small. Only 200 vessels guarded the gateway jump point. Vrax smiled when he saw the sensor readings. The humans were fools. They should have gathered their entire fleet here. Instead, they offered only token resistance. All ships advance, Vrax ordered. Crush them and move toward the core systems. The Krell fleet poured through the gateway jump point in massive waves. First came the heavy battleships, designed to absorb damage and break enemy lines. Behind them came cruisers and destroyers. Fighter carriers launched thousands of small attack craft. It was a display of raw military power that would have terrified any normal enemy. Admiral Taewon Nam watched from the bridge of the UES Indomitable. His flagship was a magnificent vessel, built specifically for this kind of battle. Around him, officers monitored displays showing the Krell advance. Everything was going according to plan. "Wait for it," Taewon said calmly. "Let them commit fully." The Krell fleet advanced deeper into Gateway System, confident and aggressive. Their formation was solid. Their commanders were experienced. Everything seemed to be working perfectly. Then humanity sprung the trap. Thousands of defense platforms hidden by advanced stealth systems activated simultaneously. They had been floating in space for months, invisible and dormant. Now they came to life with devastating effect. Missile swarms launched from every direction. Energy weapons that could punch through heavy armor opened fire. The space around the Krell fleet became a storm of destruction. At the same time, the 200 human ships revealed their true capabilities. They were not a small defensive force. They were the elite First Fleet, equipped with the best technology humanity had developed. Their shields absorbed Krell weapons fire easily. Their engines let them dance between enemy formations. Their weapons found weak points in Krell defenses with surgical precision. "All units execute Plan Alpha," Taewon ordered. His voice remained calm even as chaos erupted around him. The human ships split into small groups, each one coordinated perfectly with the others. They struck at Krell command vessels, disrupting their formations. They targeted communication ships, cutting off Krell coordination. They destroyed supply vessels, leaving Krell fleets without ammunition or fuel. The Krell tried to adapt. Vrax ordered his ships to tighten formation and focus fire. But human electronic warfare systems jammed Krell communications. Krell sensors were blinded by advanced countermeasures. Krell commanders found themselves isolated and confused, unable to coordinate with their fellow ships. Coalition vessels joined the battle. The Vokari warriors fought with savage determination alongside human cruisers. The Chirics contributed their fast attack ships, harassing Krell formations. Even the peaceful Delphins sent medical ships that rescued survivors from both sides, protected by human escorts. Within 6 hours, the Krell advance had stalled. Within 12 hours, they were falling back. Within 18 hours, the Krell Armada was broken. Over 2,000 ships were destroyed or disabled. The rest fled in disorder, abandoning their damaged vessels and their commander's grand strategy. Vrax watched in disbelief as his mighty armada fell apart. This was impossible. They had superior numbers. They had the element of surprise. How had humanity defeated them so completely? The answer was simple. Humanity had spent 3 years preparing for exactly this battle. Every strategy had been tested. Every weapon had been perfected. Every soldier had been trained. The Krell had numbers, but humanity had something more important. Perfect information, superior technology, and absolute determination. Captain Yoonji Bayek led the pursuit force. Her orders were clear. Disable fleeing vessels but minimize casualties. Human ships used precision strikes to destroy engines and weapons, leaving Krell ships helpless but intact. Thousands of Krell soldiers were captured alive and transferred to coalition prison facilities where they would be treated well. The biggest prize came when Colonel Hanul Cha's Special Forces team boarded Vrax's flagship. The Krell commander had tried to escape, but human intelligence knew his ship's location at every moment. Hanul's team moved through the damaged flagship, like ghosts, neutralizing resistance without killing unnecessarily. They found Vrax on the bridge, still trying to rally his remaining forces. Hanul approached him calmly, her weapon lowered. "Supreme Commander Vrax, you are under arrest for war crimes and crimes against sentient species. You will be treated fairly and given a proper trial." Vrax stared at her in shock. The humans could have killed him. They could have executed him on the spot. Instead, they were offering him justice under law. It was incomprehensible to the Krell way of thinking. News of the battle spread across the galaxy within hours. The mighty Krell Dominion, which had terrorized dozens of species, had been utterly defeated. The human fleet had won not just a battle, but a war. The Krell sued for peace immediately, their pride broken and their military destroyed. The Galactic Council met in emergency session. They were irrelevant now, but they still pretended to have authority. Many council members were terrified. If humanity could defeat the Krell so easily, what would stop them from conquering everyone else? Chancellor Borishin addressed these fears directly. She spoke to the entire galaxy through every communication channel available. The Terran Defense Coalition did not seek this war. We defended ourselves and our allies. We could have destroyed the Krell Dominion completely. We could have conquered their worlds and enslaved their people. We chose not to. That is the difference between us and the old ways. She paused, letting her words sink in. Humanity proposes a new galactic government, the conquered of free worlds. Every species will be equal. Every member will contribute to mutual defense. Economic exploitation will be forbidden. Justice will be impartial. No one will be abandoned again. The response was overwhelming. Within days, dozens of species requested membership in the conquered. Within weeks, over 100 species had joined. The old Galactic Council was dissolved by unanimous vote of its remaining members. The age of the Council was over. The age of the Concord had begun. Supreme Commander Vrax stood trial at a joint tribunal on Olympus Station. Director Jiwan Lee presented evidence of Krell crimes against not just humanity, but dozens of conquered species. The evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Vrax was found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment in a facility that, ironically, was far more comfortable than any Krell prison. But humanity's mercy went further. The Krell Dominion was dismantled, but Krell people were not punished. Their client states were freed to govern themselves. Krell colonies were allowed to remain independent. Former Krell soldiers were offered job training and support to build new lives. Humanity showed that victory did not require cruelty. The most surprising moment came when humanity returned captured Krell soldiers to their homeworld, not in chains but in comfortable transport ships, with medical care for their wounds, with food and supplies for their families. The gesture shocked the entire galaxy. Humanity could have been vengeful. They chose to be compassionate. 5 years after humanity returned with their warfleet, the conquered of free worlds was thriving. New technologies flowed freely among member species. Trade routes were secure and prosperous. Exploration teams pushed into uncharted space, discovering wonders that had been hidden for millennia. The economy was stronger than ever. Without the corruption and exploitation of the old council, species could trade fairly and develop honestly. Human technology helped raise the standard of living across hundreds of worlds. Medical advances saved billions of lives. Agricultural improvements ended famines. Educational programs spread knowledge to species that had been kept ignorant by their rulers. On Earth, in the gardens of the Terran Memorial, Admiral Hyejin Park walked slowly among the memorial stones. Each stone carried the name of someone who had died during the Krell invasion or the final battle. The price of victory had been high, but not as high as it could have been. Ambassador Daeho Kim, now retired and old, walked beside her. His hair was white, and he moved with the care of someone feeling their years. But his mind was still sharp. and he had watched the transformation of galactic civilization with wonder. "Do you think it will last?" Daeho asked. "The Concord, the peace, all of this." Hyejin watched as a transport descended from orbit. It carried diplomats from 20 different species, all coming to Earth for a summit. In the gardens, human children played alongside young beings from a dozen worlds. Chiric's younglings clicked and chirped. Delphin scholars discussed philosophy with human teachers. Even some young Krell born after the war studied at Earth universities. "Nothing lasts forever," Hyejin said honestly. "But we built something real. We proved that strength can be used for protection rather than conquest. We showed that technology can lift everyone rather than just the powerful. Most importantly, we proved that being abandoned does not mean being defeated." She turned to face Daeho. 3 years ago, we left the council chamber in shame.